Now, I'm delighted to welcome Gavin Kilkenny to the show. Gavin, good morning to you. How are you getting on?
Hi lads, how's things?
Yeah, good. Yeah, very good. Listen, before we get into the season you've had and what you hope is going to come next season, will you just tell us a bit about yourself? Whereabouts in Dublin are you from?
I'm from Bournemouth. Bournemouth, sorry. I'm from Bournemouth. Very similar. So yeah, I grew up in Bournemouth. It's just obviously a suburb in Dublin. So I grew up there and lived there my whole life. Played for St Kevin's boys from the ages 6, 7 onwards. And then obviously played there till I was 16. Played a bit of Gaelic football as well with Whitehall, Colmkill, the local team. So mixed them both until I was about 13, 14, yeah. And then obviously chose the football and moved over to Bournemouth when I was 16. So yeah, that's it really.
Football and hurling with Colmkills or just football?
Yeah, a bit of hurling as well. I was never great at the hurling, which is funny really, because my family, obviously my mum and nanny, were actually big into the camogie, but they tried to get me into the hurling. But I tried, but I don't know, I was probably a bit of a wimp at the time.
You better explain your genes properly there. So your granny was actually a superstar camogie player, was she?
Yeah, I probably underplayed her there. I would have gone on to that later. But yeah, she was an All-Ireland winner for Dublin. She was like inducted into the Hall of Fame for camogie and stuff. So yeah, she was obviously brilliant. And then my mum was similar. She won a few All-Irelands with Dublin as well. So
what was your granny's name? I see we're seeing a thing from the Herald there. Carmel, a dub of the rare old time. So did she win 3 or 4 All-Irelands?
Yeah, Carmel Cooper. Yeah, she won 3 or 4. Yeah, she played in goal for Dublin. So yeah, she was mad into the camogie. I think she managed then Dublin a bit after that. So yeah, she was huge, obviously huge influence obviously in my career when I was growing up, like more so from it just kind of getting me into sport and stuff, along with obviously a few others. And yeah, she probably laid the foundations, obviously, like I said, with a few other people to get me into the sport. And so yeah, we have all them to thank.
Did she give you a good sense of how dominant that team was? Like, for people who don't realise, between 1948 and 1966, there was only one camogie All-Ireland winner that wasn't Dublin. That was, it's one of the most dominant runs in Irish sports history, and a lot of people just aren't aware of it.
No, in fairness to her, she didn't brag, because I didn't know that now. But obviously I knew how good she was, but she wouldn't have been the type to brag, obviously. And she was quite humble, but you could tell by the way she carried herself. Obviously, she was like a very confident woman, and she knew exactly, like, going forward with me, she was obviously quite strong in what I should do, and she'd always tell you to be brave and fearless. And you could obviously probably tell that she came from something good herself, in the sense of she's come from a good story with Dublin, like you said. So yeah, you can probably pick it up off her without her probably bragging about it too much. So
quite competitive, I suspect, that Dublin team.
Who beat them? It's a very competitive family, to be fair, and it probably stems from her a little bit. Even little things, we're on holidays now, and there's killings over little things, table tennis and everything. They're doing a bit of go-kart, and everyone's competitive to win, and that probably all stems there from that sort of background. So yeah.
So hang on, you're a footballer on a family holiday with like multi-generations. You're not in Ayia Napa with a bunch of other footballers?
No, I'm not actually. I'm on a family holiday. We're back. It's funny, we're back in a spot that we used to go with. My nanny, obviously she passed away now a few years ago, but we're back in Cambrils. We're going to Barcelona now tomorrow for the F1, to watch the F1. So we're all here. Obviously then I'll be back on the weekend. I'm obviously training over here because we have the internationals next week. So it's not exactly a holiday, but it's a sunnier place. So yeah.
How is the body after a season? What's it like? Are you in perfect form? Like, what's it like?
Yeah, I'm all right. I had about a week off after. I obviously didn't play many games towards the end of the season, but I played the last game against Millwall, so I probably wasn't as tired as like some other players might have been that played the rest of the games towards the end. But obviously the training is still very intense, and there was always the thought at the back of my head that I might play the last game, so I was probably working very hard. So it does take its toll, even if you're not playing every game. But yeah, I feel fine. I just need to now. Obviously I trained yesterday. I'm going to go training after this and just get back into it, and then hopefully go into next weekend flying ready for the 21s qualifiers, which are obviously huge games.
What's your game, Gavin? How do you describe yourself?
How do I describe myself? Probably like just in midfield. I want to obviously dominate the games with the ball. So I'd probably say I'm like me technical qualities are probably my strong points. I think a lot of coaches that manage will probably agree with that. So passing and whatever, receiving, and that's obviously what I like to do. I like to dictate games, but probably in the last year, being one of my biggest things was to learn that you can't always dictate games with the ball, and I think that the championship was obviously taught me that sometimes it's not as pretty as you like. You used to playing 23s games and stuff for Bournemouth, which is brilliant, but that's where you have the ball the whole game, so it's easy for me then. It's more so now about getting involved in the hustle and the bustle sort of with the midfield, and I think I've learned that, and that's obviously a key element to the game at all levels, so that was really important, to be fair.
Am I right in saying that it would have been more kind of away from central midfield? You would have played maybe under Stephen Kenny and for Jim Crawford for the 21s on the right, and maybe even a little bit on the left, and then for Bournemouth at the start of this season, right, you were more central for the club at the start of this season.
Yeah, no, I used to play for Kevin's growing up. When I was younger, I used to play as a winger. Now they used to sometimes move me in as a centre midfielder or a 10, but it was always sort of as a winger. What the thinking was, I don't know, was maybe I was a bit smaller. Maybe I didn't, trust me in the middle a bit. But as I grew older, I think Eddie Howe moved me into the middle when I was about 19. I played a couple of pre-season friendlies, and he said to me, like, Bournemouth played a 4-4-2, and there wasn't really a position out wide for me in the sense of, like, it would be tough to kind of use my qualities out wide. And then as a 10, it was a bit more, like a bit more physical. There was a lot of pressing involved, which is fine, but he kind of thought it'd be best to move me into a 2 in midfield, and then it went from there. Now with Ireland, they probably didn't kick in until, like you said, this summer, so about 2 years later. I was playing out wide for Stephen first, right midfield, and Jim, obviously, and just to be fair to them, I just don't think they see me in centre midfield because I was playing a lot of 23s games for Bournemouth there, but it was tough for them to see. Now, Jim and me laugh because I obviously played centre mid for him now, but he played as a right midfielder, and even the last game against Sweden, I crossed in the ball and Ross scored, but it was actually quite similar to where I used to be. I ended up out wide, but yeah, we laugh about how he used to play me as a right midfielder, but now, obviously, looking at me now, you probably wouldn't think that, but that was all probably part of my development, and there's probably elements of my game now that you can see maybe that I used to be a winger, so it's probably suits me a little bit as well.
We get stuck a little bit in the habit of talking about numbers. It's kind of a shorthand for us about where a player plays on the pitch. It sounds like you're kind of an 8 with a bit of 10. Is that right?
No, I wouldn't say that. No, not anymore. I'll probably be a bit deeper than that now. You can take the 10 out, but you can leave the 8 maybe. I still see myself playing as a bit of an 8, but with Bournemouth, I've played a lot of the season, and as a 4, they call it. It's like a holding midfielder, obviously, and then I've moved up into the 8 at times, but no, I haven't played the 10, unfortunately. Them days have passed a little bit. They might come back at some stage, but no, I haven't played as a 10, so I'd be lying about that. But I don't mind playing deeper. It probably suits my qualities a little bit, so.
So what was the situation in the second half of the season, Gavin? Obviously, you're training away with the squad. You played a lot more in the first half of the season. What was the story of the second half of the season for you?
It was just probably a circumstance thing. We signed, obviously, a lot of players in January. The manager signed about, I don't know exactly, it was 6 or 7 players, maybe more. And obviously, it was just at a stage where it was getting a bit tough for us in terms of games. I think we went on a little bit of a bad run, and I played the last game. The last game I played was Middlesbrough in December 18. I done all right. We lost the game though, and then I came back. I played a couple of cup games, and then we signed a lot of players. So they naturally had a bit more Premier League experience and stuff, which obviously is not an excuse, but I think that probably just went against me a little bit. And they're obviously top players, so they all got in, and it just probably then led to there's so many players that I got left out of squads and stuff, along with a few big names. Like, it wasn't just myself. There was big players that were being left out of squads, which showed probably the strength of the squad. And then from there, it was just trying to keep my head and just go from there. And then looking at your manager, I've been training well the last couple of months, and he gave me a chance in the last game. Obviously, probably after playing at the start, he might have felt that I deserved it, which was nice. So it was nice to get the last game. So, but yeah, obviously it was just probably a bit of circumstance, a bit of experience, but obviously it's not an excuse. But going forward, then I'd like to probably try get to a stage where they're not excuses, you know what I mean, where I can just be seen as one of the rest, sort
of. When that happens, do you have long-term conversations, or is it like immediate short-term, what do I need to do this week, or what do I need to do over the next couple of months when you're talking to the coach and staff?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. Look, it's just, he was really good at me, to be fair. There was never a stage where he shoved me out, or, like, I was always very much involved in it. He said that to me, like, you're still a major part of the squad. Like, it was never a case of, look, you're not playing, like, good luck. It was always, just keep working hard, and, like, this is maybe a sort of a longer term picture with yourself. So I knew it wasn't the end of the world. As much as I wanted to play, I knew it was at the business end of the season and we're going for a Premier League, and maybe experience might have been the way forward at that time. So it was just a case of believing in what the manager was saying, and, you know, on to next season now we're in the Premier League, obviously. So obviously it's every kid's dream to play there, and that's no different to me. So I'd love to play in the Premier League next season. Whether that happens, I don't know, but we'll see. But yeah, the manager's been brilliant with me. So as much as he didn't play me in the last few games, but I can't really fault him because he gave me a chance at the start of the season when a lot of managers probably wouldn't, and obviously that paid off for myself. So yeah.
Did you feel you were still developing during that period when you were not in the squad? Did you feel like the training was still enough for you to continue to grow as a player in that squad?
Yeah, the training's unbelievable, to be honest. The coaching staff at Bournemouth, obviously Scott Parker and Matt Wellesley came from Fulham, but they've obviously came through the ranks and they're obviously quite new. But the coaching is something. Now I haven't seen much because I'm only young, but the coaching is probably something I've never seen. And Eddie Howe was obviously brilliant in his own way, but the level of detail and stuff from the two is unbelievable, to be honest. So even just training, and even though the training is not that intense tactically, I'm just learning stuff that I probably wouldn't see before. And obviously there's a lot of stuff that are based off the top teams, which is obviously the way to do it, I think, because you got to learn from the best. So I think I was still developing, yeah. And then obviously I went away with Ireland in March, which broke it up a little bit. We played Sweden. That was a good game, so that obviously helped keep me fit. So yeah.
What sort of bits are you learning? Like the thing you mentioned there about new things that you possibly hadn't seen before.
Yeah.
What sort of bits are they?
Yeah, it's just tactically, it's probably like stuff I've never seen. It's a lot of stuff maybe based off Guardiola and stuff. And then the manager, obviously, Parker's played in the middle, and he's obviously gave me a lot of tips on how to play. And one of his big things would have been with me, like, look, you have to do the dirty side of the game. And I know I have to do the dirty side of the game, but it's probably nailing that down. And when you hear from somebody like him who's done it for years in the Premier League, I think it really hits home a little bit more. And then just it's a little like finer details about positioning and just doing the extra couple of yards, and then it will save you not in the long run, but it will save you, you know, getting basically smashed in the middle. If you make a few extra yards to get the ball, it will save some big meathead from maybe smashing you in the middle. And that probably was a big thing for me as well, because obviously being maybe smaller stature, I have to be clever in certain areas and, you know, avoid certain battles maybe, and that was probably key as well. And then just like second balls and stuff, and I've played with obviously really good midfielders, which has been good, and they've helped me, but just learning to sort of deal with second balls and, you know, how to be clever and pick them up maybe in areas where you don't get yourself into as much trouble. So yeah.
And are you impatient at the moment, or do you feel like it's okay for now, that there'll be a time down the line where not playing football for your career is going to be something that you have to be totally impatient about? Maybe when you're 26, 27, you're going to play, have to play every week. But at the moment, are you okay, or are you getting impatient? What's that like?
Impatient is probably not impatient, but I know what you mean. I probably know going into next season. I think the last few months was fine, because it was only a few months. But now I know that going into next season, obviously I'll go into pre-season with Bournemouth with every intention to play there in the Premier League. But obviously I know in my own head that I need to play football next season. I know I'm 22, but you can say I'm only 22, but I'm still, you know, I'm not a young player anymore, so to speak. I'm not up and coming, so I need to obviously play games. I've shown this year that I can play at that level when I've played, and obviously I'd love to get a run of games. I think like a run of 10, 15 games in a row maybe, because I think then that could really show everyone. So I'd like to play, yeah. Next season I think I probably need to play. Where that is, I don't know, hopefully Bournemouth, but obviously I'm open to that. And yeah, there's no rush obviously, like you say, but I think next season I want to play football every week. Yeah.
And if like that hasn't happened for Bournemouth in the Premier League by Christmas, would you be open to a loan move for the second half of the season? Is that part of your development? Is that even something you would have a conversation with the management about?
Yeah, well, yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, to be fair, like I was meant to, there was a lot of talks about going on loan in January, so it wasn't something that wasn't talked about already. There was, when the manager signed all the players in January, he said to me, look, we can potentially look into going on loan, but then obviously things changed and certain things happened. So in the end he told me that he'd like me to stay. So I don't know, this summer might be different, but it might be similar in the sense that we're up in the Premier League now. You can probably sign a lot of players. That doesn't mean he won't look for me, because obviously he showed previously that he has a lot of belief in me. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, definitely if I'm not playing either in the summer or in January, like you said, I'll definitely look for a loan, or yeah, whatever that may be, to try and get some football, because I think that's really important for me. play football.
You've got a long-term contract, I think, to 2025, so there's security there. If you were to go out for a year on loan, you'd know that you'll get the opportunity to go back as a better player with more experience.
Yeah, no, definitely. The club have shown a lot of faith in me, and they've shown that there's that longer term picture. So if there's the longer term plan, that they know that it might not be last year. Obviously, I showed last year I can play, but maybe now it's about going and getting games and then coming back. And like you said, then if we're still in the Premier League, great, and that could be my way in, because obviously that's the end goal, is to play in the Premier League. It's not to, like, you want to play in the Championship, but you don't grow up as a kid and say, without being, sounding wrong, but you don't want to grow. Nobody wants to grow up and play in the Championship their whole career. At the end of the day, you want to play in the Premier League, so that's no different to me. So hopefully I'll do that. How that is, I don't know yet, but yeah, we'll see.
That win against Sweden for the under-21s was huge. It was a big performance, a big result, and it makes the rest of the campaign really interesting as well. What's your level of excitement about it there? And you just talked about having big dreams. Like, the team needs to dream big as well.
Yeah. It was a huge win, to be honest, especially off the back of beating them at home as well. And that was obviously in unbelievable fashion with the late winner. So we went to Sweden and we knew the circumstances. So you could say it was a high pressure game. It was win or else it's over, really. So, and we all knew there was a June camp either way. And like a lot of lads would tell you, like, we absolutely love coming into the camp. So we didn't want to come into June, especially in the middle of the summer. It's a bit of an awkward time for everyone, and you don't want to come in and there's nothing to play for. That's the last thing you want. So we were just delighted that we won the game and gave ourselves something to play for going into it in June. And obviously it was a brilliant performance, probably in a different sort of way to usual. We had to set up a lot defensively. Sweden are obviously a top side and they played us at home, and Jim obviously set us up really well that day. Obviously I probably think he would have liked to be more front foot and attacking, but just the circumstance of the day, we obviously had to drop back, and it was a brilliant performance defensively. So it was amazing, to be honest. We loved it, even though it's not probably something that I enjoyed too much. It was great to actually grind out a win. So the games in 2 weeks obviously have a lot of meaning now. So 3 huge games.
Am I right in saying Jim Crawford left you out of his first couple of squads?
Yeah, but it would have been the campaign before this. But it was like when Stephen left to go to seniors, and then Jim came in and he left me out of a couple of squads. Yeah, but we've made up now. But no, I'm only joking. Jim's great. I love Jim, to be honest. I haven't got a bad word to say about him. I think a lot of lads would agree with that. He's one of their managers that you'd probably run through a brick wall for a little bit, because he's very good man management. He makes you feel $1 million sometimes. But yeah, he did leave me out, in fairness. I'm not letting that go now. But
yeah.
It was just, I don't know, it was just a matter of circumstance at the time, a little bit. There was a lot of good players at that age, to be fair, and he was still playing me out wide, and it wasn't my best position. And he seen me as a wide player, and I probably didn't see the same myself. It was probably weren't on the same page a little bit as well, and he thought it was best to leave me out. So it was never like nothing personal. He spoke to me, he never just kind of left me out and didn't say anything. He always rang me, in fairness, to let me know, and we've always been on good terms. And then obviously this campaign I've came in, he's made me an integral part from the start. So yeah, he's been brilliant for me, to be honest.
I presume when you're the manager of an under-21 team as well, you're never quite sure how a player is going to react to that sort of situation, and I presume he's impressed by your positive reaction to it. And I wonder, from your own perspective as well, are you kind of looking at that Ireland experience and thinking to yourself, listen, I've been through this before, I can absolutely take this into my club form and react really well to not being in the squad here and there throughout the season?
Yeah, I think that's crucial with any sport, but it's just so important to how you react, because it's easy to just, it's easy to blame others, I think, as well. You're not playing, it's easy to blame the manager, and sometimes it probably is the manager. But you see a lot of things happening where people want to blame other people, and I think it's probably the easy way to do it. I think it's important that you just kind of look in the mirror first and see why. Obviously, sometimes it's young players and you get maybe the wrong end of the stick, and that's tough at club level. Obviously, it's international, it's different, but I think it's important that you look at yourself first, and that's what I've tried to do, and just look at myself and what can I do to improve, and obviously just have belief, and then be patient as well, like you said, because sometimes it's just a matter of time. And then luckily with the 21s, it's probably happened for me this year. It hasn't happened previously, so hopefully with club it's similar, obviously in a different sort of setting, but yeah, it's just been about being patient.
We wish you the very best of luck for the upcoming qualifiers, Gavin, and for next season as well, wherever that is. Thanks a million for joining us. Enjoy the holidays. Cheers.
Thanks, lads. Cheers. See you later.
That's Gavin Kilkenny there, giving us some thoughts on the season that he's had. Those games, by the way, there's already 3,000 tickets sold for the games in Tallaght. It's the bank holiday weekend, Friday June 3rd and Monday June 6th. The Monday kickoff is a 5 o'clock kickoff, so if you were thinking of bringing the kids, that might be one to go for.